It's a beautiful day and you're headed out the door to work. You recently rented a house in a great area. It's been about a month and things have been going really well. But as you approach your car, one of your neighbors walks by, waves hello, and makes a comment about the overgrown grass in the yard. You wave back and make a mental note to contact the landlord about that. When you reach out to the landlord the next day, they politely remind you that mowing the grass is your responsibility as stated in the lease. Thinking back on it, you were so excited about the house that you didn't even read all of the lease. And now you wonder if you even kept a copy of it. We're talking the value of not only reading your lease, but keeping a copy of it on today's episode of Renter Confidential. As the rules and regulations imposed by states, cities, and counties have increased, so has the length of the leases that landlords are presenting to renters. In addition to the lease itself, there are addendums and amendments that cover the rules related for your parking space, utilities, usage of the pool, and more. The first and most important reason why the lease is valuable is that it spells out all the rules and terms for both you and your landlord. The portion that everyone is familiar with is the amount of monthly rent and the length of the lease. But there are other terms in there that you'll need to be aware of before signing it. These include how much notice you must give before moving out, where your guests can park, and how utilities will be handled. Not reading your lease will set you up for costly and expensive surprises over the term of your lease. I've seen renters get charged an extra month of rent because they gave 30 days notice instead of the 60 days the lease required. I've seen a renter's guest have their car towed because they were parked in the wrong space. And I've seen renters taken to court for not paying their portion of the utility bill as stated in the lease. But the lease doesn't only spell out your responsibilities, but those of the landlord as well. The lease specifies a specific date when the rental unit must be made available to you. It states when the landlord can enter the property and under what circumstances. It states when the landlord must give you your deposit back. And as far as those utility bills, it states the exact formula by which those bills must be divided between the apartments in the building. Other areas the lease covers also include methods of payment for rent, pet policies, and maintenance responsibilities, just to name a few. Reading your lease also allows you to fully familiarize yourself with the terms and conditions, ensuring you understand what you're agreeing to and what powers the landlord has. However, reading the lease is just the first step. Comprehension and understanding is really what you're after. When I had to read Shakespeare in junior high, it wasn't enough to just read it. My English teacher wanted to see handwritten notes in the margin about what was actually going on in the story. Whether it's physical or digital, read your lease with a pen in hand to write down any questions you may have about anything that doesn't make sense, or use a note-taking app on your phone. Pay close attention to clauses related to penalties, late fees, and rules regarding early termination, as those are the parts that most often cause confusion and disagreements. Unfortunately, Fred Flintstone decided that his neighbors weren't sophisticated enough for him to raise his daughter Pebbles around, so he hastily rented his house and rented another in a new neighborhood, without reading the lease. It was only later that he learned his beloved dog Dino was not allowed. And needless to say, this did not sit well with his wife Wilma. And that was just the beginning of the saga they endured, all because Fred didn't bother to read the lease. At this point, we're going to take a quick break here for our sponsor, Rental Secrets. This book has helped people save hundreds on their rent. Here's the trailer for this powerful book. America is in the grip of a housing crisis. There's evidence of it in nearly every city. 50% of U.S. households are having difficulty paying rent. And prices? Well, prices are on the rise. Frustration has set in for those trying to make ends meet, and searching for a new place can be a daunting task. It can seem overwhelming. People believe that landlords have all the power. After all, they have what you need. But it isn't true. Yes, you heard correctly. It is not true. You have more power than you think. Inside the new book, Rental Secrets, you'll learn how to reduce your rent. Just imagine having a lower rent payment. Get better value for your money. Paying rent is a struggle. Shouldn't you get more out of each payment? How to negotiate with the right people. Who has the real power to negotiate? Take control of rent renewal conversations. After all, it's your money. And even how to get free rent. Yes, it is absolutely true. Free rent is real, and you can get it. All this and so much more is in Rental Secrets. Get your copy today at Amazon.com. And we're back. So now that you've read your lease and understand it, you can sign it and move into your new rental. But that doesn't mean you can toss it out or delete the lease from your hard drive. The lease will continue to serve as a reference for both your responsibilities and your landlord's. As in our opening example, you could actually refer to the lease and see if you really agreed to mow the lawn, or if that actually is the landlord's responsibility. Having the written agreement helps keep down confusion and arguments. In addition, you may need to provide a copy of your lease to verify how much you pay in rent if you choose to apply for loans or apply for financial assistance programs. I've also seen renters who needed their lease when they chose to apply for a job that requires them to live within a certain geography. This doesn't apply only to government employees, as doctors and nurses need to be in close proximity to their hospitals in case of emergencies. Another reason the lease comes in handy is proving that you live in a certain school district. There are many reasons to hold on to your lease that have nothing to do with your relationship with the landlord. I'd also like to point out here that you can't assume the law will protect you from strange or unexpected clauses in your lease. Just because a clause is strange, that doesn't necessarily make it illegal. And even if it is illegal, you can't just snap your fingers and get a judgment from a court stating that. Courts take time, money, and usually both. So you're much better off learning about any unexpected clauses in your lease before you sign it, rather than hoping the legal system will protect you from them after the fact. So here are the takeaways. Definitely read any lease you plan on signing. Keep your lease in a safe place, preferably in a physical folder or stored digitally with backups. It's also a good practice to keep all relevant documentation, such as communication with your landlord or receipts for repairs, alongside your lease for easy reference. Keeping these documents will give you much more confidence when discussing disagreements with your landlord. Thanks for watching Renter Confidential. Happy apartment hunting. When it comes to renting, insider information is the best roommate you can ever have. Subscribing to Renter Confidential is the best way to keep the industry insider tips coming. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll also find the show's videos on YouTube and Rumble. You can also follow me for daily tips on social media. You'll find me at Rental Secrets on Facebook and Instagram, while on Twitter, my handle is Rental Secret. And on LinkedIn, I'm Justin Pogue. You can find us online at rentalsecrets.net with free gifts, guest interviews of me on other podcasts, and much more. Thanks for listening.